Good morning. Good morning. Looks like we are live. Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. Today, we're going to kind of go back to when Richard Allen was originally arrested. Lately, I've been very curious as to why Benjamin Diener recused himself. He said bloodlust from the public, wanting information that either wasn't there or wasn't readily available. And then he came out and said for the safety of his family. So I think we're going to put that under the microscope today a little bit, and then we'll open it up. What's up, Chopper? Good to see you, Chopper. Angela Luster. The timing is just too much to ignore. He came prepared. He was on a mission. He did what he came to do and ruined a lot of lives. He's still ruining lives. I mean, if this case would have never happened and this murder would have never taken place, you would have never known who I was, because I would have never been inspired to create a YouTube channel. Purdue, what's up? Good to see you. Carol Murray, good morning. Night Shadow, good morning. What's up, James? Hello, Heather. Chris, good to see you. Hey, Michelle, what's up? Good morning. Brad from outside of the grid, what up? Good morning. I'm sure you got your coffee. Lakeside, always good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Slay the Rings, peace. Hey, Sparky. All right, we got a full house, guys. Rhonda, what's up? Mandy and Don Spain. Katie Owens. Can't convince me he didn't know that they were there or trying to be there. So I thought what me and Brad did during our little podcast style live stream yesterday was kind of taking the Keegan Klein aspect out of it, throw it out the window, right? Not because we don't think it's involved and not because we don't think that it's compelling or that there's something there. It's because there's nothing 100% connecting. There's nothing there. There's nothing solid. There's no solid link. So without that link, today we're going to throw all the Kagan stuff out the window unless something we present today directly points to that or brings it up. Rescue, good to see you. Boston, how you doing? Hey, Jerry. Good, good. Hey, Kels. GP Legion, what's up? Good to see you. There is always hope. Good morning, Candace. Your opinion don't mean shit. Good morning to you. Cool name. Bird Blue, good to see you. Digital. All right, I think I caught everybody. Big Bird 420. If talking to one catfisher, who's to say Libby didn't notify numerous catfishers they were going to the bridge? Sounds far-fetched, but talking to one stranger, they were talking to many. Um, well, Fig and Hannah Shakespeare, they were bringing up a really good point that she was kind of open to, if there were predators out there that were using social media to target their victims, well, she would have been an easy target for them. And that's not to say that blame their parents or do this or that, because hindsight is 2020, right? Yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda. And these types of crimes are so random. That's what makes them scary. Delphi was just Delphi before this case happened, before this murder happened. Now it's Delphi, you know. Maserati, what's up? Good to see you. Random as always. Good morning. Indy, what's up? Was the last one to talk to Libby, or was it? That's what I'm saying. We can't even really 100% take like the transcripts as fact, because we know that transcripts, they're just copying down a conversation between investigators and an individual. And the investigators are in there freestyling it. They're doing their best to keep up with the conversation where they're at in that moment, to stay with the subject, not to lose them. And not only that, to stay a step ahead, even. So sometimes they're flinging out facts, and they're telling half truths as well, because they know legally they can get away with it to an extent. Good to see you, Melissa. Forever Young. Has that Anthony Shots account to Rick Allen been verified? No, but people who have taken the time to look into it don't see much there. Mia, I don't know. I haven't taken, for some reason it didn't grab my interest whatsoever. Yeah, but there is a point where he's coming out of that door where he kind of goes into character. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Here, let me play the original. Maybe that'll help. He comes out of that door and he's like a different person. He looks at all the cameras and he does this weird thing with his eyes, and then he goes into his character, Mr. Pitiful.
Delphi murders trial. IT-Mate has obtained.
See that little strut? Like he comes out of there with that little strut and his lips kind of pressed together. And then he goes into character. That's what I see. He's like, yep, this is all for me. Oh, better put my mask on. But he looks right at the camera. Right there. He's like a different person from there to here. Crazy. Hey, Andrew. Good to see you. Hey, Ivy. They did mention a large CSAM ring, one of the largest. If I lived in Indiana, I'd be demanding a lot more information about that, especially if I was a parent. Like, what does that mean? The largest CSAM ring in history. And we all know what was going on with Kagan's phone. A lot of nasty stuff going on that phone.
The same man captured on one of the victim's cell phones.
ITMA's Richard Essex took the picture of Allen to state police for an explanation.
Allen was charged. The statute that he's charged under, the murder charge, also indicates that to have that charge, he has to have committed another crime like rape, child molestation, human trafficking, something along that line. Is he charged properly?
He is, and those questions will be answered in due time, and they certainly should come from the prosecutor.
Fuck, when, Lord, when? Fuck, when, Lord, when? Fuck, when, Lord, when? Fuck, when, Lord, when?
They're not from me.
Right.
But eventually when that PC is released, it'll be clear.
In 2019, Indiana State Police released a sketch of a man thought to be a suspect in the murder of Abby and Libby. 2 years later, investigators released another sketch of a much younger man.
That guy and that guy, there's a lot of similarities. How did we get from here to here?
Well, I think that, remember, I've said from the very beginning, since 2017, a sketch is a sketch, it's not a photograph. That's the first time I've seen that.
Really?
Yeah. And I've also indicated over time that I think once we get to where we are today, we'll be able to look at the similarities of the two sketches and make a photograph, which will be Richard Allen. So I think there's a little bit of both. And I don't regret the strategy.
Since Allen's arrest, Indiana State Police have received more than 300 tips about this case. I asked Carter if they are looking for others.
Is there somebody else out there?
Right now, we've arrested Richard Allen, and that's what the courts have allowed us to do. We are going to be searching for anyone involved in this case.
Okay, I think we should stop and talk about his response to that here.
We've arrested Richard Allen.
More than 300 tips about this case. I asked Carter if
Listen to the wording here.
They are looking for others.
Is there somebody else out there?
Right now, we've arrested Richard Allen, and that's what the courts have allowed us to do.
He said, we've arrested Richard Allen because that's what the courts have allowed us to do. Now, when he's talking about courts, he's talking about Judge Benjamin Diener. So when he uses the word courts, that's who he's talking about. So the very guy who's going to say, yeah, we're going to go ahead and you have enough to press charges. So the guy who makes that decision, next decision after that is recusing himself. So I don't know what's going on. How can you not have a prejudice or a bias when accepting the fact that you're going to allow charges, but the second after you have to recuse yourself? Shouldn't you recuse yourself before you make that decision?
We are going to be searching for anyone involved in this case until it's over. Mm-hmm. And today's no different than that.
There's been a lot of activity on this today. Keegan Klein, they had 5, the prosecutor dropped or dismissed 5.
I did see that this morning.
Is there any correlation between those charges being dropped and the search that was performed in the Wabash River?
No, absolutely not.
As he,
I think he was charged with 30 counts. They've dropped 5, he still has 25. So it's important to report that too.
Right.
The case has not been dropped against Keegan Klein.
I asked Superintendent Carter if Klein had been cooperative, and he declined to discuss Klein any further. Now a new judge must decide whether to unseal the probable cause for Richard Allen.
The probable cause, I suspect, is going to answer a lot of questions that I have here and that we talked about on Monday. Will it answer all of our questions? Or is there still...
Remember, this case is 2,100 days old, almost. And the facts in their totality will come out at trial. And not until then. I can appreciate the desire for our citizens to have these questions answered. And my response to that is it will come. It will come.
All right. Why does he keep saying that? When will the information come? And I couldn't help but think about Ben Affleck and Jay and Silent Bob. Let's take a look. Every time I hear Doug Carter say, "Oh, one day we'll be able to tell you all the information," this is the face I see.
Fuck, when, Lord, when?
But if any of us said something that would be detrimental to the criminal prosecution of the person or persons that killed Abby and Libby, and I was responsible, you should hold me.
Person or persons. After rewatching this report here, I'm under the firm belief that Doug Carter thinks others are involved in this case, and that this is the best that they can do. This is the best next move, is to go ahead and go after Richard Allen. But you can see that there's, this is just a small part. He's like, well, the judge, allowed us, or a judge, they almost like, yeah, gave us permission to go ahead and do this. They said, yeah, you can go ahead and arrest Richard Allen. There's enough there for that. But it's almost like that was just a really small part of what he was hoping for.
Be accountable to.
Staying with iTeam8 now, the judge in the criminal trial of Richard Allen has stepped down from the case.
The state Supreme Court announced Judge Benjamin Diener's decision earlier this evening. Now, it comes after he lashed out at a public's bloodlust for information in the case.
So originally, Diener said, oh, the bloodlust. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? The bloodlust. First of all, you work for the public, buddy. It's your job to feed that lust. He's a politician also. So we're going to get into that.
News 8's Drew Blair has more.
Richard Allen, who faces 2 counts of murder in the 2017 killings of Abby Williams and Libby German, has been in the White County Jail since shortly after his first court appearance last week. On Thursday, Carroll County Sheriff Tobe Lesenby asked that Allen be moved to a state prison for safekeeping. He stated that the sheriff's office cannot provide the services, attention, or supervision necessary to ensure, protect, and guarantee the safety or security of the defendant, staff, or facilities. Judge Benjamin Diener granted the request that morning as part of a highly unusual 2-page order that.
Okay, so the guy who's getting ready to recuse himself. Now, remember what a recusal is. He doesn't really have to explain that at all. He just has to have some kind of conflict of interest. And it doesn't even have to be directly with Richard Allen. It could be with a family member. It could be with an attorney that he's working with. It could be something super random. But the part I don't like is that Diener came out and he kind of gave us some reasons for that. One was the public's bloodlust. And I guess the second one kind of fits into that. He's like, oh, well, they shared images of my wife and my family. What are you talking about? That's what the mainstream media did. That's the first thing they did. Not only are you a public figure, but in I think between like 2012 and 2015, this dude was a politician. He was leading parades with his entire family out on display. So I'm calling bullshit on this right here. And I would like to know the real reason that he's recusing himself.
Lashed out at attention and media coverage of the case. Diener wrote, "The public's bloodlust for information before it exists is extremely dangerous." He continues with, "All public servants administering this action do not feel safe and are not protected." Diener is the judge who agreed to a prosecution request to seal the probable cause affidavit that outlines the evidence justifying Allen's arrest, including.
Okay, so not only was it his decision, he's the one that decided to have it sealed. So it was, he's responsible for everything and then walks away. It's like he went and placed a bomb and walked away from it and watched it explode. He said yes, to the charges. Okay, so it was his decision to arrest Richard Allen. It was his decision to move him out of Carroll County, and it was his decision to seal the probable cause affidavit that remains sealed to this day. He did all that. And where is he now?
The rare move to keep the information private even after Richard Allen was in custody. Wish TV has filed requests with the court for the affidavit to be made public. That is common with nearly every criminal case in Indiana. In Thursday's order, Diener went on to write, all public information will be available the second it exists. And when the public peddles misinformation with reckless abandon, we all are not safe.
Okay, so it sounds like he's waiting for some kind of information to maybe tie him into this somehow. And I really hope it has nothing to do with the muddy, bloody witness. There's been a rumor that it was a certain person, right? And this certain person, this judge was over that case. And so was Aki McClelland. And somebody, I think, with the last name Bean. So maybe that has something to do with it. Or him, or just being such a small town, maybe he has some kind of dealings, or maybe even some kind of personal relationship, business relationship, business related. Who knows? But for him, he should have not said anything, because that would have made perfect sense. But for him to say things like the public's bloodlust when he's a public servant, right? Oh, they're showing images of my family. Here, let's take a look at something. So let's see here. Diener, and I think this is back in 2013. Private attorney Benjamin Diener, who is challenging Circuit Court Judge Donald Curry in the May 8th primary election, stood alone at the podium Thursday night and answered questions posed because he had no one to debate. Curry explained in a letter delivered to the event with instructions that it was to be read that he is a volunteer assistant track coach for Delphi Community School Corporation, and he was obligated to coach a track meet, which was scheduled prior to the debate invitation. So he's a politician as well. Everybody knows once you become a politician, you know, you're putting everything out there. Let's see, what else did I find? This one's was very interesting. Local couple leads 26th annual Independence Day parade Saturday. And this is in 2019. And this is somebody who doesn't want their family exposed. He brings them out and puts them on display in a parade. Carroll County Attorney Abigail Huffer Diener and husband Carroll Circuit Court Judge Benjamin Diener, who were chosen to lead this year's Delphi Lions Club Independence Day Parade, were married in 2011. Since that time, the couple, who states they both enjoy children, have a total of 4 children at home, and have provided foster care for several more. Ben is very steady, Abby told the comment. I handle the ups and downs of the relationship. Ups and downs? Abby is very passionate about kids and the CASA program, Ben added. Abby is the director of the court-appointed Special Advocates program, which trains unpaid volunteers to represent children in placement in court and other proceedings. Abby's parents are Neil and Griffin Anderson and the late Jim Huffer. She graduated from Delphi. Well, it didn't seem to be a problem then. It's almost as if he's preparing for some kind of information to come out. And he's already kind of laying the tracks for that. think he even said something like unverified information or something along those lines.
Judge in the Delphi murders has now taken action and recused himself from presiding over that case.
Karen has the latest. Fill us in, Karen.
Well, Allen County Judge Fran Gull will now take over as the special judge in the Delphi murder case against Richard Allen. Circuit Court Judge Benjamin Diener, again, as you mentioned, has recused himself. Now, a judge, we've learned, does not have to give a specific reason for recusing himself from a case. Diener reportedly asked state court administrators for help dealing with what he called a brewing storm of requests from the public to release case information. Now, he also says he and his family don't feel safe. Now, Diener also says some members of the public have shared content about his family on YouTube, including sharing photos of his family. He wants the public to.
Oh, you mean stuff that he did and provided to a local news agency for his political campaign? It's okay to go ahead and lead a parade through the city, right? With your family, everybody's names, relatives, this and that. It's all out there. But the second they arrest Richard Allen, okay, I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, it's okay. Go ahead and search his place. Go ahead and arrest him. Go ahead and move him. And then we'll go ahead and we'll suppress all this information from the public. And then guess what I'm going to do? I'm just going to walk away from it all and let you guys deal with it. All right, so let's take a look here. I think we have an update on Richard Allen's My Case. We can finish with this. Motion for ex parte determination of defendant's motion for appointment of experts. So we've seen this before. And basically, this is Richard Allen say, hey, I need to talk to you, Judge, but I can't wait for you to set up some appointment and get everybody together in a room. Like, I need to see you right now. And it's just a decision between you and I. Doug the Riddler. Indeed. Indy says if they could have been lying about him being the last one to talk to Libby, maybe they're lying about the biggest CSAM in history as well. I don't know. They better not be. Because Keegan asked, like, why'd you let me go for 3 years? And they said, well, because through your devices, we uncovered the largest CSAM ring in Indiana history. Before we get into that, let's look here at judicial disqualification here. This is for Indiana. Indiana Code of Judicial Conduct Rule 2.11. As of July 31st, 2017, Indiana joined the majority of states and the ABA by adopting language permitting parties to waive judicial disqualification. So if you're going to waive it, you got to give a reason. He didn't have to do that. Judicial disqualification continues to be mandatory in the following circumstances. The judge has a personal bias or prejudice concerning a party or party's lawyer, or has personal knowledge of facts that are in dispute in the proceeding. Personal knowledge of facts that are in dispute. That shit caught my attention. Like, what if he saw enough in the probable cause affidavit for the search, And then even though he has information that might be to the contrary of what they're trying to accomplish, he saw enough to allow the arrest, this, and that. But I'm wondering if it's possible that he has inside information that might kind of dispute what they're trying to do. Let's see here. Also, the judge knows that the judge's spouse or domestic partner, or a person within the third degree of relationship to either of them, or the spouse or domestic partner of such a person is a party to the proceeding, or an officer, director, general partner, managing member, or a trustee of a party. So it's like 7 degrees of bacon with that. Acting as a lawyer in the proceedings, a person who has more than a deminums interest. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe you guys can correct me in the chat here. Interest that could be substantially affected by the proceedings or likely to be a material witness in the proceedings. Oh, shit. More than I wonder if that's like a personal interest that could be substantially affected by the proceedings. Likely to be a material witness in the proceedings. I don't know. It's definitely piqued my curiosity. Oh, Linda with the super sticker. Thank you so much, Linda. It's awesome. I bet there's so much we don't know. It would change everything if we knew it. I mean, it's either that or Doug Carter is the most talented bullshitter in history. Because, I mean, it's written all over his face that there's just so much. You know, he's been dealing with us, you know, as much as he probably hated us in the beginning. And when I say hated us, I mean the bloodlusters. You know what I mean? The media, the family, the people who pressure police, journalists, all these people that are putting added pressure on law enforcement. You know, he's had to deal with us for so long. And we know at the beginning of this, he's like, hey, be patient. You know, I've never stood before anything like this. You know, this is all new for me. So I think over time, he's kind of understands like, hey, you guys have a right to this information and we have a relationship now. I get where you're coming from and you're trying to get where I'm coming from. So it's like now he really wishes he could tell us. That's what I'm reading all over his face. Like, I wish I could tell you guys. But unfortunately, it just seems like cases like this, it's like they never get fully solved. You know, there's always pieces of the puzzle, kind of like with Nicole Bowen. Like you have this whole Palladino side of it all. When they mentioned Garrett Kurtz and Nicole Bowen, it was synonymous with the name Palladino as well. They said we're looking to pursue against Kurtz and we're looking to pursue against the name Palladino. Well, we know that they were able to get Kurtz and Garth and that whole little crew, but they never got that. The other name was never mentioned since. So I'm very curious about that as well. Zip down here to K Money with the super chat. Hey, what's up, K Money? How you doing? Thanks for the super chat. Banter Lion. Alan for 6 years was fishing for information and talking about it to the bartender owner about the girls. Yeah. JC's. He did admit that. And the family also frequented that establishment. Yep, that is true. Owner about the girls. He felt comfortable they didn't find that ejected bullet. He may not even known about the bullet. We've known about it since the very beginning, but the people that were privy to that information were asked to keep it quiet because I think it popped out in one of the first probable cause affidavits. I think it's mentioned briefly in the Maxwell search warrant. And anybody who was able to get their hands on that or information and whoever shared it, it was always followed by, don't mention this. This is private information. So it went almost, well, from about a year for me knowing it and me knowing that about a handful of other people knew it, that it didn't get mentioned until about a month prior to the actual arrest. So that's pretty good. So I hope that wasn't the reason that they made the arrest when they almost as if they were forced to, because once that information came out publicly, there was an arrest. And it's unfortunate though that the people that released that information did. It's like they have no self-control. But I know a handful of people that knew it that didn't they never mentioned it. Because every time you hear law enforcement come on the media or news, they say there's some information that we're not providing. And the people that knew the information knew that that's what he was talking about. They would say things like, well, only the killer would know this, things like that. So I have a feeling that if that information got out, think about it. If they came out and said, yeah, we have this bullet casing, the killer's immediately going to get rid of that gun. But because they were able to keep that information quiet, if it was Richard Allen, he did not get rid of that weapon. His ego wouldn't allow him to. You know, he's like, I got away with this. They have nothing tying my weapon or me to this crime. I love this gun. You know, I'm not getting rid of this gun. They have nothing on it. Puts the gun back where he keeps it, and that information stays private. But if they were unable to keep that information private, I think that he would have destroyed the gun and we wouldn't be where we are now. But it is unfortunate to see that the people did release that information. I'm not going to use any names, of course, but I'm sure it's could be a learning lesson. Hey, Jojo, why did so many people fail a lie detector test? All of the same question. They knew more than they were saying. Well, here's the mind twisting answer. Okay, did they fail the polygraph, or did the investigators just tell them that they failed the polygraph? You know, we don't have the results. Yeah, it makes no sense why Palladino would be mentioned. I mean, his name was synonymous with Kurtz, right? In regards to that case. Yet I don't hear it anymore. Banter says he would have said his gun was stolen or gotten rid of. Yeah, man, I would have. He could have easily have melted it down. Melt the gun down, destroy it, go bury it somewhere nobody would ever think to look. But the fact that they kept that information secret, and the fact that and there's, I think it's possible that he didn't know, but law enforcement don't know that. They weren't taking that kind of a risk. But they kept that information private for a long time. Hey, Amber, I wonder if Richard Allen told anyone else he was there. Someone on Reddit seemed to know he was Bridge Guy. Well, it's like he didn't keep it a secret. And this is why I'm almost 100% sure that his wife knew. But she should have no reason to suspect, or she had plenty of reason to fall into that deniability category, right? They gave her all the outs needed to do that. First, they said he was just a guy that they wanted to question. He's not a suspect. Okay. He did come forward, and his wife would have known that. Like, yeah, he was there. Yeah, he's obviously the guy on the bridge, or looks like him anyway. but he already talked to investigators, so there's no need for me to come forward, right? So I have a feeling that some of these early Reddit posts and this 4chan stuff is either like family friends or Richard Allen himself or like his wife or somebody along those lines, somebody that has intimate knowledge but is still confused. You know, they're stuck in that purgatory. Like, I know information, but I have a personal side to this that is kind of trapping me in this in between world where it's easy for me to deny it, but there's the other side of me that's like something's not quite right. Yeah, he would have gotten rid of it. Hey, Jules, good to see you. Yeah, the cigarette butt, that's on the radio chatter asking for evidence bags. Plus, he said he never lent the gun to anyone else. Well, exactly, Banter. That's what got him arrested. If he would have even said, hey, yep, I let my son-in-law take it out on the 13th, I don't think he would have been in handcuffs. They would have went from that point over to the son-in-law, or let's say he said the neighbor, or last week somebody broke in and stole it. You know, I don't know if they would have been able to arrest him. Because, and the reason I think that is because if you read the probable cause affidavit, Richard Allen came in voluntarily. You know, they searched his home, they ran the test on the bullet, and they waited a few days. Then they called him in. So he came in, waddling in, ready to tell the same story. Like, what? What, guys? I told you everything I know. They're like, oh, yeah, well, we just have one more question. You know, because they have all this information that they haven't told them. But like, oh, one more question. Did anybody have access to your weapon? Like, oh, hell no. Okay, you sure about that? Yeah, I'm 100% positive. Okay, well, place your hands behind your back. You basically implicated yourself. Good thing he didn't plead the fifth. Candace brings up a good point. She says, or he didn't know it would leave identifying marks. Yeah, because that's not something that you're thinking about. You know, when you think of ballistics, you think the bullet actually has to be fired and the pin has to hit the back of that bullet, leaving a mark, a specific signature to that weapon that only that weapon leaves. And I believe all guns, they test fire them and they file those results. So even if you got rid of the gun, they can still kind of track down who purchased the weapon. They have a microscopic little photo they keep on the file. So most times when guns are sold, they have that on record. So even if you destroyed the gun, you could try to do your best to track down the bill of sale through the serial. Hey, Shay. Jojo says, I heard they were watching him sometime around the same time as River Search. He started burning shit in his backyard and they got scared. He was panicking and destroying evidence he didn't want. It's interesting. Yeah, I feel like something pressed their hand. I don't know if it was just the time. I don't know if it was the bullet evidence being thrown around. But yeah, that is interesting to hear, Jojo. Well, that stolen tool stuff has never been verified anyway. Because all the neighbors that talked to HLN or the other neighbor who came and talked to Fox, none of them mentioned anything about stolen tools. There's nothing like that in the probable cause affidavit. It says a tip narrative. Hey, Bossy. That's interesting. Ed Bowman. All right, guys, we're going to hang out for about another 10 minutes. Taco Fall, what's up? How you doing? Yep, little late. Better late than never, though, right? Yeah, either a gun or a bunch of alcohol. I don't know what it was. He could have been pretty drunk that day as well. Big Fish still on the DP theory. Maybe his daughter snuck it out, lured her father, planted the bullet, and ran off with the D-pizzle. True Sleuth, they did the Columbo on him. Yeah, I just don't understand how Diener could go ahead and set all these things in motion and then walk away like that. Bossy says, I still believe they found something in the river search. They'd have no obligation to tell KK whether they did or didn't. You're right. You know, they could have told them we didn't find shit, but actually did. Smart criminal uses a revolver, say they don't drop the ammunition. No, a smart criminal uses a gun that has nothing, no attachment to them, and you just leave it at the scene. They tested that bullet against Ron Logan's gun and many others, and none of those guns matched the bullet. Well, they didn't mention that in his probable cause affidavit, unless they just kept that part out. I mean, why couldn't they leave some out like they did on this one? They might have to announce that. Because I think in order to get something like that done, you have to file for it. And in order to file for it, something has to be on file. The request form or something along those lines. Banter says, I wonder if they found the knife. Well, the neighbor said that they were digging near the shed, and near the shed is where people are saying the fire pit is. So they may use it as a fire pit, but there's also a garden right there. So you have one neighbor saying that they were digging in the flower. They didn't dig in the flower garden, but they dug near the shed, which is where the supposed fire pit is. And you can see it was obviously dug up. And one neighbor says that they were using metal detectors. I suspect what one of the witnesses said, muddy and bloody, no one on earth walks in public covered with blood. She might have said muddy, but the word bloody was an addition from the law enforcement. Well, she said he looked like he had gotten in a fight. So, you know, that put a conflict in my mind. Did he look like he got in a fight because he still had blood on his face? Was it his blood? Did he get in a fight? Did the other perpetrator take it too far and he got in a fight with him? The other perpetrator beat his ass, took his gun from him, unchambered the gun and handed it back to him, saying, hey, if you say anything about this, I'm going to kill you and your family. Or did he go down there on his own, get into a scrap with Libby, like a real scrap, like where they're throwing punches, gouging, stuff like that. And the Ron Logan probable cause affidavit is just wrong or purposely misleading. I mean, I just don't understand why the Ron Logan affidavit is so off with so many different things. But yet it got approved. Digital says, wonder how many bullets, casing, shells, ammo they logged into evidence. They searched a large hunting area. Well, back to what was said in chat earlier is that maybe he didn't realize that they could test the gun that way. You know, he thought only the ballistics from a fired gun can be examined. So he takes the bullet out on his own, not thinking about that, and places it in between the victims. You know, like a calling card or something. And maybe that was one of the signatures. I don't know. Hey, Melissa, good morning. Good to see you. Oh, thank you, Purdue. Yeah, if you guys could hit the thumbs up. We got a full crowd in here. So if you support my channel, that's the best way to do it. Hit that thumbs up. We got about 5 minutes and we're out of here. Big Bird 420 says she had called police when she seen Richard Allen muddy and bloody. His ass would have been caught. Yeah, but she didn't. Apparently this person, well, I don't know if muddy and bloody is the same person that helped with the older guy sketch, but whoever helped with the older guy sketch came forward a couple months after the crime. And it's a she. That much we know. But I don't know if that's the same muddy and bloody person. I suspect that it is. Because if she would have reported it right away, he would have been arrested. I agree with that. Banter says, I saw a case today. Teacher in Arizona. Her killer walked into Circle K store covered in blood. She said to him, looks like you had a bad night. Damn. Yeah, your mind, I don't know. It just doesn't go there, you know? Oh, this person just committed a brutal murder. No, it goes to somewhere like, oh man, this guy got into a bad fight. I hope he's okay. Hey, Queen. Better late than never. Let's remember that Ron Logan let certain people shoot their guns out there. Yeah, that's a good point. We've heard Tobe verify that. We've seen Ron kind of go into this weird place of like a list of suspects that he might have. You know, he's like, well, somebody had been walking with him or something. And he kind of starts looking around. He's like, man, only a few people really know about this place. So it's like he's going through this list, this short list in his head. Hey, Boston, thanks for the super chat. Hey, what's up, Derek? Oh, that reminds me, I need to close out that poll. Uno momento.
Game.
All right. So did Richard Allen know Abby and Libby would be at the High Bridge? 71% said yes, 20% said not sure, and 7% of you said no. And I don't see that there's any proof that he did know. It's just looking at everything, right? And the way it appears premeditated. They could have found a knife in a river. One thing that caught my eye with the PCA was the IMEI number. They made mention of that. And if they did find something in the river, let's say like a cell phone, they also made mention that there was something strange about his IMEI number, right? Like it was altered, or there was something strange about it. So if they found it and it wasn't tied directly to his information, maybe they just punched in the IMEI number, and the fact that he was willing to provide it to the conservation officer, and the fact that the conservation officer was smart enough to ask for it, I guess we got to give some credit there if that eventually is what led to his arrest, right? So it could be something like that. What's up, Darren? Barber Investigates. Welcome. Banter says, I'm sure he took images of the girls. Fact, he developed film at CVS and his wife was into photography. That's a creepy thought. He could have done that without being suspected. Yep, that's true, Indy. I remember him saying that. It's very interesting. I wonder if she's getting ready to sell that place. Or she's just fixing her garden. I think him developing film is what the defense team wants to suppress with CVS. Whew, that's interesting. Even that, I mean, videotape his conversations. Was he talking with somebody in the parking lot? You know, we're going to need videotape of that. Maybe they record all their phone calls. Maybe he took a medical leave of absence and he had to provide proof. You know, they would have to file that. Maybe just everything they have on him with HR. And then some. Thank you, Jojo. It's good to see everybody. We will be wrapping it up here in about a minute. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on the way out if you could. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And members, we're going to be getting together tomorrow. Just a quick little chill out. I want to give a shout out to Linda Boatner. Super sticker supporting the Sleuth Intuition channel. You rock. K Money with the super chat. Thank you, sir. And Boston Christian. You guys rock. Hello, Pamela. Do you have any idea on when this goes to court finally? What has to happen first? Anything? Well, they got to work out all these kinks. You know, they're still in this conflict. Bossy says the IMEI number was completely gone, which you have to do personally. It won't register on a network, is my understanding from researching it. Yeah, there's something weird. Like this phone was only used for either going online. It was like a burner phone. So it made me think, well, again, it takes me over there to Keegan Klein, you know, logging in and logging out in the morning. And here's this guy. He has this phone in his hand. You know, he's looking down. He said he had the phone. He said he was watching a stock ticker. So if he provided the IMEI and it was suspicious, then they go and they find this phone in the Wabash River. They run that information and it pops up a tip narrative that was filed incorrectly, and then they got their guy. Or they didn't find anything and they're just under the pressure. They're going to have to roll the dice, maybe. Guess we'll have to wait and see. Looks like we got a new member. Welcome, CJK. All right. And on that note, guys, we're going to end it. Appreciate you hanging out. We'll probably do this again tomorrow morning. I'm going to look more into the whole Benjamin Diener and why he really recused himself. And also if what he did was even legal. But we will definitely follow up on today's topic. All right, guys. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon. Peace out.